When I was a young girl, a bit longer ago than I'd care to admit, there was a period of time where my girlfriends and I would gather almost every weekend to stay up all night and gossip. It was pretty typical teenager stuff. We would talk about boys and which teachers we hated and which teachers we secretly found sexy. This was before the days when there were televisions in every room, so we more or less had to entertain ourselves unless we wanted to be hanging out in the same room as the parents, and who wants that? We were at Mary Tompkins' house that night, rooting through her games chest for something to do. Chutes and Ladders was kid stuff, and Monopoly was boring. But when she pulled out the Ouija board, we all came to an unanimous decision. It had just the right amount of taboo edge for a group of teenage girls. For those of you who aren't familiar with a Ouija board, and though who hasn't seen one nowadays, it's a flat board with the alphabet printed on it and numbers ranging from 0 to 9. In either corner it has the words yes and no, and at the bottom it says goodbye. This particular board also had a question mark and an exclamation point. All the gathered members of your group put their fingers lightly on the planchette, which moves around the board, spelling out phrases and answering your questions. The idea is that you're channeling a spirit and communicating with someone beyond the grave. Many people were suspicious about the Ouija board, and my grandmother refused to allow one in the house. But when I was a girl, Parker Brothers produced them, and they were available in any toy store. They even became something of a social phenomenon, with adults bringing them out at parties, laughing as they asked it silly questions. I don't think anyone really believed they were genuinely talking to ghosts, but it was a thrill nonetheless. We brought the board back to her room, giggling all the way. The 6 of us placed our fingers on the planchette and asked some preliminary questions to test the waters. Are you there? The planchette moved to yes. We could hardly contain our delight and debated excitedly about what to ask it next. I think we ran through every question a young group of girls could run through. Who had a crush on us at school? Would we be rich when we grew up? Some dirtier questions about the guys we liked that I probably shouldn't go into. The planchette moved diligently, answering all our questions one letter at a time. We must have been at it for a couple of hours when the questions started to veer into less comfortable territory. Are you a ghost? Mary Thompson asked. The planchette seemed to hesitate. It stuttered toward yes, but made a sharp turn, finally resting on no. What are you? The line of questioning was making me uneasy, and I could tell by the silence that had descended on the group that the other girls were too. Our giggles and excited tittering were gone. The planchette moved to the question mark. We looked at each other, unsure how to proceed. Betty bit her lip, a somewhat troubling question clearly churning in her mind. When are we going to die? The planchette moved its way around the board. 33 years, 26 years, 10 years, 45 years, 10 years, 2 months. My breath inhaled sharply at the last date as I pulled my hand away from the planchette. The game had lost its fun at that point. Betty complained that we had only gotten dates and not the names of which girl each date applied to. I thought some things were better left to the imagination, and the rest of the girls agreed. We had all but forgotten about the board when Mary Tompkins disappeared 2 months after that night. A mentally ill drifter was arrested by the police and ultimately confessed to abducting and killing her, though her body was never found. Graduation was a solemn affair. The graduating class wasn't big in our small town, and Mary Tompkins was sorely missed by all. Years passed. The girls didn't see each other as much anymore, having all moved away and started our own families. It took a 10-year reunion of the local high school to get us all in one place again. Amy and Jennifer died in a car crash commuting to the dance hall. Cancer got Elizabeth. She was far too young, and I caught up with Betty at the funeral. When Betty died of a heart attack, it had been so long since we talked that I didn't even know until months after the funeral. I'm the only one left of my high school friends now. I called my son and I told him I loved him. I spoke to the grandchildren too. I set my affairs in order throughout the week. Everyone will be getting their share. I wrote a few letters and sent them out. I'm finally putting this story down on paper because 1 week from today is the 45th year anniversary of the night we used the Ouija board.